Thank you so much. Thank you so much. There might be a Q&A at the end. I haven't timed this one, so let's see how long we're. Now, my notes here, it says say hello. So, hello. So, my name is David Pannell. I'm wearing two hats today. So, my first hat, as we said there, is Vegan Business Tribe. And Vegan Business Tribe, has anyone heard of Vegan Business Tribe here in the room?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I've got some of my members in the room, that's why. So yeah, Vegan Business Tribe. We are an online community helping vegans in business. We've been going about 5 years. We've got a very long-running Vegan Business Tribe podcast. Go and take a look at the website if you are interested in the topic of veganism and business together. But I've also got my other hat on today, which is from the Kickstarting for Good Academy from ProVeg. Now, this is an incubator for social impact entrepreneurs. And if we look at that photo, you can see my lovely face on there, because I actually went through the ProVeg Kickstarting for Good incubator myself, and then they loved me so much they asked if I'd come back and get involved as a mentor and help them expand the incubator as well. What I would say though is this is currently open for applications, so if you are thinking of setting something up which is a social enterprise or a not-for-profit, go take a look at Kickstarting for Good, because it's probably the quickest way to get something started and get you in front of funders as well. Okay, so who am I? Well, some of you have already heard my backstory, but I started quite corporately. So this is myself and my wife, Lisa. So we were actually running quite a successful marketing and business growth agency when we turned vegan. And I'm guessing most of you have been through this kind of situation yourself. When you turn vegan, you get very passionate about this subject and you want to do something to move the cause forward. So myself and my wife, Lisa, we said, well, we've got these skills of helping businesses grow. Instead of helping these ethically neutral businesses grow, let's go help some vegan businesses grow. And guess what we found out very quickly? No, there's loads. But vegan businesses, they have no money. So we were going out there on our consultant rates, and not many people were returning our phone calls. So what we actually did for our move into this sector was we worked with the companies that did have money. So we worked with Burger King to help them develop their vegan menu and get their serve through Vegan Society certification. We worked with Pizza Hut. We worked with a couple of Unilever brands. So that's where we started out. But we kept coming back to this idea that we wanted to work and help vegans. And we thought, well, if we couldn't do that one-to-one because they don't have the money for consultancy, can we do it collectively? And that's where Vegan Business Tribe came from as well. And as I said, after 5 years, we took that through the ProVeg incubator. Then I got involved with ProVeg, and I got more involved with the animal rights side and the not-for-profit side. So at the moment, I straddle both those camps. Because we've got quite a small group here, we can go a little bit interactive. So I had this slide prepared just in case. So I'd love to just know, what is your view on the relationship between business and animal advocacy? Just shout out. Tell me what you've got. Go.
There's a big issue. I just spoke with an animal law teacher this morning, which is justice. That association, French Animal Protection Association, go through in order to defend animal rights.
Yeah.
At the end, they gain money out of animal rights protection, and I read a thesis saying that ethical issues cannot be compensated with money.
So longer answer than I was looking for, but I agree with you. so no, good answer. Anybody else on that? Yeah, go for it.
We made a positive decision to employ vegans.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually give them wages, and then the profits that we make go into helping advocacy.
Yeah, exactly. So quick show of hands then. Who would say that business is the enemy of the animal rights movement?
No.
1, 2. Who would say that they can be an ally of the animal rights movement? Okay, most people, and a couple of people sound the fence. Okay, so that's interesting. So my view is that they can be an ally. To me, business can be one of the most efficient and effective forms of activism. There are a lot of people here this weekend who are very fortunate that they spend all their time working in this animal advocacy sector. Most advocates don't. Most advocates, they end up doing it on the weekend, in the evening, in their own time, self-funding. But if you can bring together your business and your activism with how you make a living, that makes that very effective, because you can do your advocacy full-time, and also it's tied in with how you make a living too, which makes it sustainable as well. So this is my view on business. Business itself is very neutral. It's an entity, and you can do good or bad with that business. So let me give you a quick idea. So who knows who this is? Shout his name out. Matthew Glover. So what did Matthew Glover do? Well, he founded the Veganuary movement, he set up Veg Capital, he launched VFC, he started the Vegan Food Group, he launched Gen V, which started out as $1 Million Vegan. And we look at someone like Matthew and go, oh, that's amazing, he's done so much in our sector. Imagine if we had 10 Matthews. But Matthew is actually a double glazing salesman. So before he started all those businesses, he started at West Yorkshire Windows, the Conservatory Outlet, the Fit show, which is about a window fitting show. So he did all this before he came into the movement. He was a businessman first, and then he used some of that capital and all that experience to then go on and do everything amazing that he's done in our movement as well. So we can use our business skills in this movement. And I think the more that we have business advice coming into the movement, that's something that is really good for what we do. It's a window, as Jamie said here, of opportunity. Jamie wins. Okay, right, okay, so let's very quickly go through the 4 ways that I see that you can do activism with business in this sector. So first of all, you can sell a vegan product or service, maybe the most obvious thing that businesses do. You can use a successful business to promote change. You can activate vegans within existing businesses, and then we've got corporate engagement too. And I'm going to very quickly, because I know it's a short session, just run through these different ways that business can be used as activism. So let's start with the first one, and maybe the obvious one as well, selling a vegan product or service. Now, you should recognise most of these brands. These are UK plant-based brands. I know the founders of all of them as well. We've got VFC, started by Matthew Glover, V-Bites by Heather Mills, this by Andy Shovel, Better Nature Tempeh by Chris Kong as well. So this is the obvious place to start when you talk about business as activism. It's actually giving good alternatives to animal products, and it makes becoming vegan just so much easier. And this is what most people think about when they actually say about starting a vegan business. But it's not just food. And this is something that I always have to get across. These are all vegan businesses as well. But some of these people sat here in the room today. So we've got, vegan children's authors. We've got vegan travel companies, vegan filmographers and documentary makers, vegan interior designers, vegan fashion designers, vegan musicians. Someone I'll come back to in a second. But we've also got, vegan artists and activists as well. This person here is sat in the audience today. Keith, put your hand up. Yeah, Keith, what do you do? What are you?
Run a accountancy firm.
Keith is the vegan accountant. And people will say, well, what makes an accountant vegan? Keith is sponsoring this event this weekend. Okay? So, if you've got a skill set, you don't have to go and make cupcakes to have a vegan business. You can use your career capital that you've already built up to actually make an impact on the scene as well. So that's really, really important to remember. So that's the first thing you can do. You can sell a vegan product or service. The second way to use a successful business, the second thing you can do is you can use a successful existing business to promote change. And this is something I am really keen on, and I absolutely love this, because you can do more good with a profit than you can ever do with a loss in our sector. Money, some people say that money is not important. I think it probably ranks just after maybe oxygen. In terms of doing what you're doing and being able to keep making the change, we need to be funded. Everybody needs to be funded. And there are people who are doing this by using commercial ventures to actually make a difference in the world. So this is the Gusto Group. Gusto Group, they turn over about £25 million a year. They employ over 170 people. Steph right in the middle there, where's my thing gone? Oh, there we go. Steph in the middle there, he's one of our Vegan Business Tribe members. He's founder of Gusto Group, he's plant-based, he's an environmentalist. I call him the cheap man's Dale Vince a little bit as well. And he's built up a group of companies covering construction, manufacturing, home building. They're based in Nottinghamshire, not that far away from here. And the company, it's become Steph's platform for change. So he's got a really successful business, and what he's doing with that business is very impressive. So first of all, he makes sustainable eco-housing. So all of his developments over these last few years, he's made them as sustainable as possible. It's not just for solar. A lot of the houses that he's built, but it doesn't need heating in winter, it doesn't need cooling in summer, just because of the technologies he's used. He's gone on to help their local football club become vegan and plant-based. So they're currently non-league, but he's trying to take them he wants to take them into the Premiership eventually. But he's helping them design a new stadium, which is made out of recycled shipping containers. He's also invested in companies like Bosch and things things like that as well. So he's taken a very successful business and the profits from that business he's using to make a difference. And that's one way that you can use a business as activism as well. Now, all of his 170 employees, only a handful of those are vegan or plant-based, but he's still making a big change for our movement and the environmental movement as well. So that's a brilliant one. So third way is activating vegans within existing organisations. And I absolutely love this because it's something that we don't do enough as a sector and as a movement as well. So these two companies here, Tesco's, they employ 300,000 people in the UK. What percentage of the UK population is vegan, do you think? 2%, 3%, somewhere around there? Yeah. Yeah. So it depends how you kind of look at it, what stats you look at. Yeah, it's about 2% of the population. So that means that if they employ 300,000 people, potentially we've got 6,000 vegan allies, working within the Tesco ecosystem there. The NHS, they employ 1.5 million people. So that means that we've potentially got 30,000 vegan allies within the NHS England as well. And how many of those do you think are in points of influence? Yes, sorry, Jim. Don't question my maths. Do not question my maths, Jamie.
Yeah, but I might say that vegans are probably less likely to work in a supermarket that sells non-vegan items.
You would be surprised.
I mean, yeah.
I don't disagree with your comment. But you will be surprised. But also, how many of them are in points of influence with that company? And that's really interesting as well. Imagine if we could activate those people, to actually create internal pressure and direction. It's like having these vegan sleeper agents within these organisations that we're not convinced with. I've met so many vegans who complain about their job because they don't work in a vegan organisation, a vegan company, and just complain about it. When we did work with Burger King, there was a vegan there that we were dealing with, and they decided that they were going to stay and try and make change from within. So yeah, there are these people in here who we're not contacting enough that we could really make a difference with. And it only takes one person sometimes within an organisation. So, anybody know who this is? Fantastic. So Derek Sarno. So he was head of plant-based at Tesco's, and he took Tesco through a plant-based revolution. And that was just one person in there. Many of the amazing products that got into Tesco's that were plant-based got in there because of Derek Sarno. Now, he no longer works there, and Tesco's plant-based products have gone downhill since he's left. But it was just one person making a massive difference and doing massive internal things as well. Some of my Vegan Business Tribe members might know this person. Anybody know him? So, shout his name out if you do. Matt, thank you. Yes, Matt O'Hara. So Matt O'Hara is he's a financial advisor. How vegan rock and roll is that? So Matt O'Hara, he works for quite a large company called Mattioli Woods. They employ about 1,000 financial advisors in the UK as well. He decided to create change from within. So he petitioned the company to support the Veganuary challenge. He said he'd be the point of contact. He'd go around all the different offices and give talks about Veganuary. He did that his first year. He created 2 new vegans. He had a team then. So next year when Veganuary came around, they did the same again. They did more influence from within. And now because they have quite a few vegans, because of him working in Mattioli Woods, they're able to actually influence some of the things about that company, about where they're putting their money and what investments they offer, especially against animal agriculture and things like that as well. So again, just one person within a business. Now this person you may or may not recognise. So this is Deep Dillon. So he's actually the managing director at Mercy for Animals, but he was working on a project last year that ran a pilot for an idea targeting vegans working in large corporates. Now, as part of his research, he identified a HR leader at Audi who was vegan, and that HR leader, they had an influence on the canteens that fed 50,000 staff a day. So they had a vegan person in HR who had some influence over the canteens, serving 11 million meals a year. So imagine what they can do. Yeah. So this is really important, and it's something that we're not doing as a movement enough. Is actually engaging people who, where they are at the moment, saying if you want to do your activism, you can make a lot of change where you are. So that's another way that we can use business as activism as well. Okay, and the fourth way, and this is the really interesting one, is corporate engagement as well. Corporate engagement, it can be a very powerful tool, and it's something that we see in other cause areas, perhaps more than we do in animal advocacy as well. Because corporate engagement, as much as you love it or hate it, it can be an absolutely massive source of funding for our movement. But veganism and animal advocacy, they tend to do corporate engagement in a slightly different way. So, this is vegan corporate engagement. Now, I'm not condemning this, and I'm not condemning it at all. In fact, we know that these kind of pressure campaigns, they do have an impact. They have a huge impact. But it does mean that the Starbucks Foundation is probably not likely to fund its local animal advocacy sort of group and things like that as well. So that's something that we need to be very much aware of. These pressure campaigns, they do work, but they don't work on their own. And we call this good cop, bad cop, or if you're getting a bit more academic, it's called the radical flank effect. And we know that this works, and we know that corporate pressure, it can make change. But radical campaigns, so the ones that we've just seen on the previous slide, they are the bad cop. They drive the urgency, they drive the fear, reputational damage, but we need the other side of that. We need the good cop as well. So if we don't have those friendlier campaigns, then quite often those pressure campaigns on their own don't work. People just start resenting them, they start pushing back against them as well. So having the good cop, and I'll show an example of a good cop in a minute, that provides kind of a reasonable alternative to resolve the situation. And that is what often secures the concessions. So if that's the bad cop campaigns, what do you think in our sector might be a good cop campaign? Yeah, Veganuary, okay. And that's why Veganuary don't do pressure campaigns. It's why they don't show footage of slaughterhouses on their social media, even though people say they should be doing. Because they are the good cop, and they know that they're where these companies are going to be pushed towards. They're waiting for them. So the people going out there and protesting outside Starbucks with the dead cows and things like that, you then got the friendly Veganuary saying, well, we can solve your problems. Come help with us, and we'll move you away from that. Okay, so that's really, really important, because the same organization, it can't be good cop and bad cop. Somebody can't come in and start kicking a company and then try and offer them the solution. It's got to be two different campaigns, two different corporations, but there needs to be better coordination between the two. And again, that's something we don't have in the movement. So people usually fall in one of these camps. They're the good cop or the bad cop, but they haven't organized between themselves before starting their campaigns, and that's something that we really need. If somebody is playing the bad cop, we need to have an equal and opposite good cop for those companies to then be pushed towards as well. So let's just have a quick look at other cause areas. So such as the gay rights equality movement. That was 1969. That was 2024, okay? That took 50 years to go from A to B. And that's really impressive as well, because what that has meant is it's translated into corporate acceptability for the gay rights movement. All major companies now embrace Pride Week. You know, a lot of people call it, one second, Jamie. So a lot of people call this like rainbow washing and things like that as well. But imagine if we did this for animal advocacy. Yeah. Imagine if when it comes to the Veganuary, we've got all the companies, you know, changing their social media icons and things like that. Do you reckon we can do that in 50 years? Yeah, possibly. Yeah, exactly. But that's something that we take a lot of thing of. Now, of course, human rights and animal rights, two very different things. Human rights are always going to get more support than animal rights do, but there's frameworks there. There's pathways to do it as well. And again, you know, people do call this rainbow washing, but this translates into terms of corporate engagement and corporate funding as well. So this is an organisation called Start Out, and they help LGBTQ+ entrepreneurs start businesses and support initiatives. And look who sponsors this: Amazon, Coke, Comcast, Google, JP Morgan, Visa, and they sponsor them to the tune of millions of pounds a year. This company, this organisation, not for profit, is hugely funded as well. Now, I can tell you, none of these companies here have returned my call when I asked them about sponsoring Vegan Business Tribe. Not surprising, eh? But when you look at the percent of people in the UK, at least in the Western world, who identify as gay in the UK, it's about the same as who identify vegan. So it's not an unreasonable, you know, comparison to make in terms of these companies sponsoring them. But in terms of the LGBTQ+ movement, it's a lot more something that companies want to get behind than the animal rights movement as well. But we can learn a lot from this as well. If you want to talk more about this topic of good cop, bad cop, I'm actually running a roundtable tomorrow. So tomorrow afternoon, at 5 minutes past 2 in Park Avenue. This is part of a ProVeg Kickstarting for Good. We're running lots of different idea areas, but if you want to come talk about good cop, bad cop, if you want to come up with some ideas for it as well, come along to that workshop and we'll just be recording those ideas and seeing if we can actually come up with some ideas about it. We've got some ideas already of how we might be able to do that, but come and get involved and it should be great too. Will you get in your little 5 minutes? Am I good? Do you want me to talk slower? Do you want me to talk faster? You sure? Okay, sorry. I'm nearly at the end anyway. Fantastic. Right. Okay, so to wrap up, if you've got an interest in vegan business, come take a look at this Vegan Business Tribe. I've got a little posse in the corner here today. Give me a whoop, my Vegan Business Tribe. Yeah, there we go. Fantastic. Come take a look at Vegan Business Tribe at veganbusinesstribe.com. You can get a free month if you want to contact me. I'll send you a free month voucher. You can go see what we got. We have got hundreds of hours of content that we've built up over the last 5 years. We've got online courses. We've got a very active community of some wonderful people. If you want to meet vegan business advocates, that is a place to go as well. And also just remind you, if you do have an idea for a new not-for-profit, then the Kickstarting for Good incubator, which I'm also involved with, applications are open now as well. Everybody who goes through Kickstarting for Good, they receive at least $5,000 seed funding on graduation day. If they get to graduation day, the best ideas, they get $50,000, $40,000, whatever it is. So if you've got an idea for a not-for-profit that you want to incubate, go take a look at them as well. And that is me. I have finished before I got threatened from my lovely moderator. Thank you. Yeah, and time. I should have gone slower. Time for questions. Let's go for it.
Do you want to trade microphones? And then I can take this one around. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm not. I'm a law student, and paradoxically, I have a newbie question about corporate law. I'm French, but can I create, for instance, a British company? And thus, if it's possible, those 4K4G would have to create such a company. And can you make a brief summary about comparing French corporate law and British corporate law? Is it better to create a company also in France or in the UK? Thank you.
I have no idea. Keith, how do you start a company in the UK?
Get the microphone.
Yeah, I don't know much about starting a company in France, but part answer. I mean, you can speak to a French accountant and compare notes, but yeah, I mean, typically if you live in the UK, you can start a UK company, even if you're French national or whatever. Presumably, I don't know if you'd be permanent resident, but yeah, no, that's fine. You can actually also live abroad and start a UK company. Historically, quite a lot of international folk would do that because the UK tax climate historically has been quite attractive with things like research and development and corporation tax, but yeah, not so attractive probably in 2025. So that's less of a trend, I would say, because corporation tax are now kind of approaching 25% depending on profit, and R&D's an absolute nightmare now with HMRC.
So what I would say is talk to Keith, our vegan accountant. Fantastic.
Any more questions?
2 at the front.
Yeah, just as follow-up to what you were saying about the...
Were you going to ask me how I keep looking so young?
That's going to be my second question.
Okay, thank you.
Starting a company in the UK or France, start your company in Northern Ireland, and you will have access to the UK market and the EU market because of the peculiarities of Brexit and the Good Friday Agreement and all the nonsense that has gone on since then. So, yeah, come to Belfast or Derry. Start your company there. But I do have a question, and it's not how do you keep looking so young. It's how do you square the circle of veganism being essentially intersectional And by what I mean by that is once you start to go down the rabbit hole of ethics and morality and all the rest, you suddenly come up against this idea that actually, late stage capitalism is cruel to people as well as cruel to animals. So how do you square the circle of existing and being an efficient business without screwing your staff?
I would say, and I don't disagree with you at all, but I would say that it's actually neutral. And a lot of it is behind who's behind that money. So a lot of the funding that comes into our movement comes from very successful entrepreneurs who decided to actually do good with that money instead. I mean, there's some very public people like Dale Vince perhaps, but for every Dale Vince you've got 100 others who aren't public at all, who are hidden away behind the scenes. And over the last few years, I've met a lot of these people, and it is amazing. They've made more money than they could ever spend in their life, but what they're using for that for is putting back in the thing. So I think business as a topic and money as a topic is completely neutral, and it's down to that individual. An interesting thing, again, that Kickstarter for Good are looking at is campaigns to actually influence people in power. So the people who are at the top of big organizations, or people who have that sort of influence, and saying, okay, like look at the Bill Gates Foundation, Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation, for instance. How do we get those sort of people looking at animal advocacy and animal rights? So yes, I don't disagree with you, but I think it's neutral. I think it's about the people who are actually in charge of that thing as well. See, I know if you made millions and millions, well, we'd never see you again, would we? Thank you.
I think we have time for one last question.
Come on, Jamie, make it a good one.
Not really a question, but I was just going to bring up the point that rainbow capitalism isn't as popular as it used to be since a certain individual came to power in the United States.
Who might that be, Jamie? Elon Musk.
Yeah, him. Yeah. And just like it just kind of go to show that the companies you thought had your back wasn't. They never did. They were just pretending because it was a socially acceptable thing. And so, yeah.
So to make a comment back at that, again, I don't disagree with you at all, but we mustn't look at short periods of time. And again, if you look about, where the movement was in terms of gay rights 50 years ago, where was it 100 years ago? We have to look at the same with the animal rights movement. And I think the people who are quite negative about where the animal advocacy movement is at the moment, they're looking at really short windows. They're saying, 2 years ago, it was so much better. 3 years ago, it was so much better. What about 50 years ago? Compare where we are now to then. So again, project forward another 50 years. And yes, and I think the same with the gay rights movement as well. Yeah, because of what's happening in the state, that's taking a little bit of a bashing at the moment. Give it another 10 years. Brilliant. But thank you. Brilliant point.
Thank you, David.
I'll give myself a round of applause.
Woo!
Thank you so much.
Thank you.